What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Election Analysis 2024. And today we are going to be talking about the scenario where RFK drops out of the race and endorses Donald Trump for president. This has been news, this has been stories that have been circulating the last couple of days this one just came out today at 4:46, just about 2 hours ago, where later in the week, it is Wednesday right now, but RFK has said maybe on Friday he will consider dropping out of the race and endorsing former President Trump. So we're going to be talking about the effects of what that could have on the race in the swing states and how that can shape up the map this upcoming election. Right now, this is really where the map stands. We have 219 electoral votes for Donald Trump, pretty certain he's going to win, and then 226 where Kamala Harris is probably going to win. This is where we are at right now. Kamala Harris, as of late, has been, leading these swing states, taking the lead from Donald Trump. You'll see Pennsylvania, she's up by a point. Wisconsin, she's up by almost 4 points now. You'll see Michigan, same deal. She's up by about 3 right now. It's Georgia, tight race within a point. North Carolina, 538 average, has her up right now. Arizona, same deal, has her up by a point. Nevada, Harris up by a little bit. Let me get that for you, by 0.4. And what this really means is, I just went through all of these states. Donald Trump is leading in one of them, and that's Georgia. So if you give Donald Trump Georgia, boom, you'll see that's what he got in 2020. Nothing really changing. North Carolina and Georgia flipping. That's what the polls are showing right now. For Donald Trump, that is horrible, especially considering where he was against Joe Biden. However, if RFK is to drop out of the race and endorse Trump, this could have a huge benefit towards the former president. And so we're going to go through these swing states one by one and show the effect it could have if RFK supporters would go towards Donald Trump. First, we are going to start in the state of Georgia. This is a state Donald Trump is still up in. We're going to look at the most recent poll here. Trump is up in every single one of them. We can go here where Trump was up 4 points. Kennedy was polling at about 2%. This was a 4-point lean for Trump. We're going to take the aggregate. So we're going to see Kennedy's getting about 2% on average, 2%, 3%, 3%. So we're going to take 2% and add it to Trump's lead. That would put him at about a 2.8 point lead in Georgia. Take it from what was a tilt red state as of right now to a lean Trump state. Next, we're going to look at the state of North Carolina. And you're going to see Donald Trump is just down in the state of North Carolina. However, RFK is averaging about 4 points in the aggregate in the state of North Carolina. So if you take Donald Trump, basically a tie, add almost 4 points, it's about a 3.5 point lead here for the former president, giving him a lean win in the state of North Carolina. Again, we are taking the polls that as they are right now and giving Donald Trump RFK's vote share to show you what could be if RFK were to endorse him. This puts Donald Trump at 251 already. Next, we're going to look at the state of Arizona. We look here, you'll see Kamala Harris has the lead by almost a point. What is Kennedy polling at? 5 points. RFK endorses Trump. Let's say Donald Trump gets those 5 points. You'll see him up on Harris by about 4. I'm not going to give it to a likely, but I'll put it at a lean margin. This would be a lean win for Donald Trump if he were to have all of RFK's supporters. People are going to be saying, well, yeah, they would break both ways. No, they really wouldn't. RFK, again, was polling at about 8 to 10% when it was Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. These were double hater voters who couldn't vote for either candidate. When Kamala Harris came into play, half those voters who were Democrats were like, hey, I can vote for her. So they flocked over to the Democratic side and left about 4 to 5% of voters who were mainly leaning Republican, but could not vote for Donald Trump. They were going to vote for RFK. If RFK is to endorse Donald Trump, I see these voters flocking to the Republicans just as they flocked to Kamala Harris when Joe Biden dropped out of the race. So right now, with Arizona going to Trump by a lean margin, you'll see 262. Next, we'll go to the state of Nevada. This is a state that is extremely close. Harris has the lead by about 0.4. What do you see? Kennedy again having a polling average by about 5 points in Nevada. So we can take the same thing. I'll say that's a lean win for the president if RFK were to endorse him. That's 268. He needs one more of these states. And we'll look at the state of Pennsylvania. This is the state the closest of the Rust Belt right now. Trump is down by about 1.3 in the polling aggregates. He's been up in some recent polls. He's also been down in some recent polls. But on average, he's down by about a point or two. Kennedy's polling at 4 points. Okay, you take that. That's about a 3-point lead for Donald Trump. That would be a lean win in Pennsylvania, 1 to 5 points, and that would put him at 287. That's right there, all he needs. All he needs is North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. But with all of these states, he's at 287 already. We can look at Wisconsin, a state that has been really trending towards Kamala Harris. She's up by 3 points right now in the state. She's up by 4 points right now in the state almost. But you'll see RFK is polling at 4 points. That's the difference of 0.4 percentage points between Kennedy and Harris's margin in the state. That gives Donald Trump a tilt win in the state of Wisconsin if RFK supporters were to join Donald Trump. We can look at Michigan, a state that Kamala Harris is polling with a 3-point lead in the aggregate, but RFK holding about a 5 percentage point block of the voters here, giving Donald Trump a lean win in in the state of Michigan. So right here, you'll see if RFK supporters are to go towards Donald Trump as they are, meaning if the RFK is averaging about 4.5% nationwide, 5%, and they all go for Donald Trump when he endorses him, if he were to endorse him, you'll see all of these states become lean or tilt, majority lean. In the 7 swing states we have been talking about for multiple election cycles, Donald Trump sweeps them all. But it does not end there. There is more to look into. You can look at the state of Virginia, where 2 recent polls came out, where Donald Trump is down by Harris by 3 in both of them. That's huge. And you look at here, you could look at this Roanoke College poll, and it shows you can hit more. And you can see that RFK is getting about 6 points here. 6 points. You can look at these Florida Atlantic University polls that came out in July, but Kennedy was getting 5%. Kennedy was getting 7%. So to average it out, you could say Trump's getting about 5%. Is he going to win Virginia? I don't know. But what can it do? It can make it competitive. It could force Harris to spend money in this state, take down her total of safe electoral votes to where maybe she can't invest as much in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and allows Trump to really step on it in those Rust Belt states. You could look at New Mexico. You could look at New Mexico here. She's up by 6, yeah, but Kennedy's polling at 6% in the state. This is a poll done August 12th through 15th. This is a recent poll. She's up by 6, which is, it's a likely margin. Trump gets Kennedy support. It's a dead heat in the race. What does that do? It takes away her safe votes. It takes away her safe states. You could do the same thing in New Hampshire. You'll see she's up by a little bit. Here she's up by 5 with RFK. She's up by 7. The supporters flock to Donald Trump. That state's within 3. What does that do? It makes the state competitive. You could say the same thing in Minnesota. This is what can happen if RFK were to endorse President Trump. You could have these swing states be in Donald Trump's category by a pretty good margin, and you can have states that we were talking about when it was Joe Biden and Trump. We were talking about Virginia, New Mexico, Minnesota. And then Kamala Harris came in and reassured those states. Well, if RFK were to endorse Donald Trump, you can see these swing states revert straight back to how they were 2 months ago, where Donald Trump had a lead nationwide and in all the swing states. And realistically, this is what we can see if RFK were to endorse former President Donald Trump. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.